Hello, everyone, and welcome to part two of my health policy analysis. My name is Ben Cacciaglia, and today we will be focusing on the Disability Integration Act of 2019. The identifying information for this bill, it is a House of Representatives bill, so it's H.R. 555. The sponsor for this bill is Representative James Sensenbrenner. He currently has 237 co-sponsors, which makes up roughly about 220 Democrats and 17 Republicans. This bill was also referred to two House subcommittees, the House Subcommittee of Energy and Commerce and the House Subcommittee of the Judiciary. This bill was also made in addition to the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990. There are two main goals for the Disability Integration Act. The first goal is to clarify and strengthen the ADA's integration mandate in a manner that accelerates state compliance. So this basically means that the Americans with Disabilities Act in 1990 was basically using general type regulations to liberate the initial limitations that individuals with disabilities had during that time, so that the Disability Integration Act of 2019 is actually going to accelerate and clarify some of those regulations. The second goal is the need for affordable and accessible housing for individuals separate from community services. And then there's also 5 other goals that encompass those two main goals, which further establish regulations to ensure individuals with disabilities are actually going to receive quality community-based services. The policy history and development of the Disability Integration Act of 2019. So in 1990, the Americans with Disability Act was initially implemented so that individuals with disabilities could be liberated from the discriminations and limitations of their community. In 2018, the Disability Integration Act was first proposed by Representative Sensenbrenner to the 115th Congress, which eventually died because it was introduced late into the calendar year. Again, in 2019, around January, Representative Sensenbrenner reintroduced the Disability Integration Act to the 116th Congress, and that's the current position. They're actually voting on the implementation today. And then actually in October of this year, the bill was now referred to the House Committee of Energy and Commerce and the Committee of the Judiciary. The interested actors and players, so the formal actors actually have a direct influence on the implementation of this bill, and they are Representative Sensenbrenner, the sponsor of this bill, his 237 co-sponsors, the two House committees, the House of Representatives, and the United States Senate. The United States Senate actually has an identical bill in the Senate as we speak, so they're reviewing that. The informal actors have an indirect influence to the implementation of this bill, but they can influence the formal actors to implement this bill. So I put myself on there as a student advocate, the Voice of Reason, which is the opposition coalition that does not want this bill to be implemented, the Disability Integration Act Facebook group, AARP, which is one of the more prevalent national organizations that want this bill to be implemented. There's a total of 888 total group supporters. Of those 888, 227 are national organizations and 661 are state and local organizations. So the policy analysis method that I chose for this bill is the incrementalism method. The reason why I chose this bill is that the Americans with Disabilities Act was made before the bill providing general principles that the Disability Integration Act can follow. This Disability Integration Act should also be implemented in small steps, because if it was implemented in one large step, it could cause a chaotic process for the individuals with disabilities transitioning into the community. There are some obstacles that can negatively impact the implementation of this bill. The first one is bipartisan support. It's lacking due to the majority of co-sponsors being mainly Democrats. There are some Republicans, but it's very little. There's a time constraint due to the recent impeachment inquiry. The bill has been overlooked and has a short time period to be reviewed. The economic aspect is there's no funding resources stated on the bill. Therefore, the committees that are reviewing this bill have a hard time supporting the implementation because they have no idea where the funding is coming from. There's some driving forces for this bill. So the first one is cultural, so caregiver motivation. If the caregiver is unmotivated, it can directly transition to the individual with disabilities motivation, causing a lack in internal motivation for that individual. Then there's the social aspect, which is the individual may feel as a burden to the society. The professional construct, which occupational therapy is not clearly stated in the community-based services, which if it is, the OT can provide and develop interventions to help individuals with disabilities successfully transition to the community. This bill covers all of these aspects and can actually make sure that these aspects are heard and clearly stated out so that the individual with disabilities can successfully transition into their community. We have some additional resources for the bill. The bill has a website, a Facebook group, some information provided by support groups, which is also on the website, and the correspondence of the bill from the legislator website. So I'll be showing you guys that right now. So moving over here, we have the Disability Integration Act website right here. You can see all the different resources, the fact sheet, congressional visit resources, frequently asked questions, the postcards, then the supporter list where you can see all the different supporter information, the legislative houses that are reviewing this bill, the sponsors, co-sponsors, and then any news, media, or blogs that are actually being created to help support this bill. Then we have the Disability Integration Act Facebook group, which has about 1,900 followers. As of right now, there's actually a flash advocacy going on based on trying to get Speaker Pelosi to pass the bill. And then here's a website for that. So that's the advocacy alert. This is basically trying to get the bill passed so it does not die at the end of the year. And over here we have Representative Sensenbrenner reintroducing the Disability Integration Act. So this is a media source from the news clipping in Wisconsin for that. So the application of OT to this bill is directly related to the implementation through being able to help individuals with disabilities transition successfully into the community. This is actually twofold, so this will help in occupational therapists in long-term care facilities and community-based facilities, as well as those individuals with disabilities. So starting with the individuals with disabilities, they will be able to have greater access to their community-based services and the community itself, because in long-term care facilities they are, for lack of a better term, cooped up and do not really see the community as often as community-based services will provide them. So this will actually help them improve the quality of life because they'll be able to access more community-based activities that they were longing to do that they were not able to do in the long-term care facilities. The way this impacts long-term care OTs and community-based OTs is that the long-term care OTs can actually see more patients and have more patient turnover through the use of implementing screening tools so that they can evaluate patients and individuals with disabilities to transition to community-based services, while on the other hand, community-based services could also gain an increase in all related services positions so that they can help these individuals with disabilities develop skills and develop interpersonal skills in order to become independent in navigating their community, as well as being able to interact with other individuals with disabilities that may be transitioning at the same time. Thank you for listening to this presentation. Have a great day, and here are my references.